Well, folks, if you haven't heard it by now, let me be the first to tell you. A jury acquitted Betty Shelby, that Tulsa cop, for shooting Terrence Crutcher, an unarmed black man with his hands in the air. Okay, his hands in the air. They acquitted her of murder. Folks, it doesn't get any more clear-cut than that. Basically, it's open season on black men, black people, but black men in particular. Anytime a police officer says they were in fear, all bets are off. And it's getting to the point where I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried out by 6. And that's the attitude that a lot of us are going to have to start taking, because these cops are basically just shooting us and then crying boo-hoo, boo-hoo, talking about they didn't have training, they were in fear for their lives, they thought they saw a weapon, they thought they saw anything. And juries are basically just giving them a pass. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Let me read you the story out of the Tulsa paper. A jury on Wednesday acquitted a white Oklahoma police officer who said she fired out of fear last year when she killed an unarmed black man with his hands held above his head. The family of Terrence Crutcher burst into tears and expressed outrage after jurors found Tulsa officer Betty Jo Shelby not guilty of first-degree manslaughter in the September 16th shooting. About 100 demonstrators later gathered outside the courthouse, and some briefly blocked the main street. Let it be known that I believe in my heart that Betty Shelby got away with murder, Crutcher's father, Reverend Joey Crutcher, said after the verdict was announced. A lawyer for Shelby said the officer was elated that the jury found her not guilty. Hell, I'd be elated too. She's ready to get back to her life, defense attorney Shannon McMurray said. Shelby looked stone-faced when the verdict was read, but Crutcher's family was quickly ushered out of the courtroom, sobbing and wailing. At least 4 of the 12 jurors were crying as they left the courtroom, and they did not look at either the family of Crutcher or Shelby. The jury comprised 8 women and 4 men, including 3 African Americans. Okay. That just tells you what was going on with that one. Shelby testified that she fired her weapon out of fear because she said Crutcher didn't obey her command to lie on the ground and appeared to reach inside his SUV for what she thought was a gun. Crutcher was unarmed. See, and that right there was bullshit, because he absolutely obeyed her commands. He had his hands in the air, and this guy wasn't walking slowly. He was basically moving at a crawl. And it has been proven, okay, and I did a video on it, that this man did not reach inside of his vehicle. His windows were up. Prosecutors told jurors that Shelby overreacted, period. They noted Crutcher had his hands in the air and wasn't combative, part of which was confirmed by police video taken from a dashboard camera and helicopter that showed Crutcher walking away from Shelby, hands held above his head. Shelby's attorneys argued that in the 2 minutes before cameras began recording the encounter, Shelby repeatedly ordered Crutcher to stop walking away from her and get on the ground. Shelby also said she feared Crutcher was under the influence of PCP, a powerful hallucinogenic known as angel dust that makes users erratic, unpredictable, and combative. But obviously, they claim they found PCP in his system, but none of the video showed that he was erratic, unpredictable, or obviously not combative. An autopsy showed PCP was in Crutcher's system, and police said they found a vial of it in his SUV. Crutcher's family said police attempted to demonize Crutcher over the drug possession to deflect attention from the fact officers didn't find a gun inside his SUV. The killing of 40-year-old Crutcher was among a spate of officer-involved shootings in recent years that helped galvanize the Black Lives Matter movement and prompted calls for more police accountability. About 100 demonstrators gathered in a plaza outside the courthouse Wednesday evening to protest the verdict. They chanted, "No justice, no peace, no racist police." That's pretty good. A smaller group later briefly blocked a major downtown road but dispersed peacefully. Police kept a relatively low profile, standing about a block away. Mark Lewis, organizer of the local civil rights group We the People Oklahoma, said the verdict was a blow to Tulsa's black community. No shit, Sherlock. When is it going to stop? Just officer-related shootings? When will the police change policy, he said. Tulsa has a long history of troubled race relations dating back to 1921 race riot that left about 300 black residents dead. In 2015, a poorly trained white voluntary deputy, Robert Bates, shot and killed a black man after Bates said he mistakenly reached for his gun rather than a taser. The shooting led to the departure of the sheriff. 6 days after the Crutcher shooting, Tulsa County District Attorney Steve Kultweiler charged Shelby, an affidavit accusing her of becoming emotionally involved to the point that she overreacted. Defense attorney McMurray argued that prosecutors rushed to charge Shelby for political reasons, fearing civil unrest like the angry street protests that erupted in Charlotte, North Carolina after the fatal shooting of 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott 4 days after Crutcher was killed. But the reaction in Tulsa was more muted, with protests but no violence. See, that's a bunch of bullshit. Absolutely, that's a bunch of bullshit. That lady was guilty as hell, and at the minimum, that jury should have been hung. But as you can see, not everybody appears on the right side of this particular issue. And I would love to have interviewed those 3 black jurors just to see where they stood on this, because the verdict had to be unanimous for acquittal. Everybody that looks like us ain't one of us. End of story.